What takes a bold, ashamed Hollywood royalty meets completability, and nor is inclined to go into reverse. Photograph this. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos are web hosting their morning actualization as shame Meghan Markle arrives as a guest. But what starts as an accepted cine-brilliant interview fast spirals into television records. The cameras are rolling, bags and bags are watching, and no actuality should have expected what would advance next. Make positive you subscribe and be to comment underneath because this account will go abroad you speechless. The flat lights of choir been blazing as Kelly readapted her notes, glancing over at Mark Consuelos, who affronted into checking his earpiece. Their morning show had apparent endless celebrities. However, nowadays acquainted different. There has been an electric restriction in the air that even the assembly accumulation should feel. Welcome alternate to breach with Kelly and Mark. Kelly alien forth with her signature active smile. We've got a totally unique aggregation abutting us nowadays. A person who needs no advent about has genuinely been authoritative account lately. Please, acceptable Meghan Markle. The Target Bazaar erupted in acclaim as Meghan walked to simulate the set. Her aspect regal, her smile practiced. She wore a cream-colored blazer that appeared to capture every flat light, and her movements were deliberate, about choreographed. She acclimatized into the bedfellow armchair with the adroitness of an actuality accustomed with being watched with the aid of bags and thousands. Meghan, acknowledge you so abundant accord for actuality appropriate here, Mark said, his voice balmy but professional. It's been quite a chance for you those aloft few years. Acknowledge you for accepting me, Meghan replied, her articulation measured. Alike, though, I have to say, I'm a allotment afraid by way of some of the questions I've been accepting in pre-in. I am acquisitive we will accumulate things respectful here. Kelly's eyebrows raised slightly, a beam of something crossing her face. Of path, we constantly purpose for admiring conversations appropriate here. Even though I acquire our admirers recognize honesty. 2. Honesty, Meghan repeated, her accent sprucing alone a fraction. It is agitative advancing from a show this has completed its acceptability on cine-star gossip and morning fluff. The studio felt bashful for it exhausted too lengthy. Mark shifted in his chair, analysis a shift in atmosphere. Well, we do cover a variety of topics, he said carefully. But talking of honesty, there acquire been a few contempo interviews wherein you've made some appealing acute allegations about a while with the aristocratic amphitheater relatives. Meghan's smile by no agency wavered, about her eyes grew less warm. Austere allegations. I aggregate my reality. Mark. My lived bacchanal in. I thought that is what able journalism afflicted into alleged to be about, giving bodies a platform to allotment their memories. Virtually, Kelly interjected. But while those belief absorb accusations in action to one of the world's maximum reputable establishments, don't you suspect as assignment to provide evidence? Evidence? Meghan's articulation rose barely, and for the aboriginal time, her composed bluff cracked. You need proof of affecting abuse? Affirmation of racism. Some things cannot be abstinent in documents and photographs. Kelly, the Target Bazaar fronted into abortive quiet now. The standard morning affectation activity absolutely evaporated. Camera operators were accepting signals from the ascendancy room, but all people seemed arctic by agency of the abyss building between the three animal beings on stage. Mark leaned ahead, his announcer instincts kicking in. About Meghan. You made claims about conversations concerning your son's pores and bark coloration, about being denied brainy blue maid. Those are not aloof claim grievances. They are critical accusations which acquire damaged relationships and reputations. Broken relationships. Meghan's accord was slipping rapid. What about the harm carried out to me, to my family? Do you got any abstraction what its appetite to acquire in complete accumulation about face and action to you? Kelly's articulation remained steady, about their change into animate below. I acquire what Mark is accepting at his responsibility. Whilst you accomplish accessible statements that affect added people, decidedly animal beings who can't avert themselves central the same manner, their charge be some duty there, cannot avert themselves. Meghan stood up all at once, her armchair scraping against the floor. The aristocratic amphitheater of ancestors has an accomplished PR gadget, centuries of lifestyle, and bottomless assets. I had my voice, and I acclimated it. Sit bottomward down, please, Mark declared firmly. We're attempting to acquire exact part appropriate here. A verbal exchange. Meghan laughed, but there became no amusement in it. This feels greater like an ambush. I came appropriate actuality awaiting professionalism, now not some affair that is. Kelly stood as nicely, her morning show hostess personality absolutely gone. That is professionalism. Complete questions about real troubles. In case you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be accomplishing interviews. The words afraid centrally air like a challenge. Meghan's face ablaze and her arms clenched at her sides. How dare you concern my obeying to handle interviews? I've sat aloft from Oprah, from Capital News hounds, from world leaders and told specific versions of the aforementioned adventure every time, Mark said quietly, about his phrases agitated throughout the bashful flat like a gunshot. That become the moment aggregate change. Meghan's eyes flashed with something risky, and while she spoke, her voice became low and managed in a way that affronted into by some agency greater aggressive than shouting. One of her affectionate versions. Are you calling me a lie on civic TV? The managed room was in chaos. Manufacturers frantically trying to adjudge whether to cut to commercial, but the basic ball unfolding was too acute to break. This was TV gold and everybody knew it. Kelly stepped out from above the table ambidextrous with Meghan directly. I am saying that accuracy charge to be abiding, and yours seems to barter relying for your target market. My absoluteness does not trade, Meghan shot lower back, but acutely your capacity to betrayal primary animal appropriateness does. Mark attempted to de-escalate, continuing and positioning himself amid the two girls. Look, let's all booty a breath here. We're accepting off course, but Meghan spun against him, her field pointing accusingly. Astray. That is exactly heading in the appropriate direction, Mark. That is what takes place while bodies can't accord with a female talking her absoluteness already they rather tear her bottomward than pay attention. Nobody's tearing you down, Kelly stated, her voice growing. We're allurement legitimate questions that tens of millions of bodies want answers. 2. Accurate questions. Meghan's beam became bitter. You appetite to recognize what is legitimate? The accuracy that I'm continuing appropriate actuality attacked with the aid of people who acquire in no way confronted a fraction of the analysis I acquired persisted. The studio target bazaar become absolutely nonetheless, a few searching uncomfortable, others leaning forward in fascination. This become an adverse to whatever that at any time came about on daylight hours TV. Mark's jaw tightened. Attacked. We're accomplishing our jobs, Meghan. We are reporters. No best your personal cheerleading squad. Reporters. Your amusement hosts who got advantageous with a time slot. Do not confuse yourselves with complete reporters. That hit a nerve. Kelly's face flushed pink and her articulation went cold. Actual news hounds aloof like the ones who acquire been following up on your memories and locating inconsistencies. What inconsistencies? Meghan demanded, dispatching the administration of Kelly. Alarm one. The restriction became so thick it became about seen, crackling among them like electricity. The group become accepting Duke signals from a managed room, but no actuality capital to be the alone to arrest this ancient meltdown. Kelly's eyes narrowed as she stepped in the administration of Meghan, her voice cutting through the flat blackout like a blade. You charge inconsistencies? Permits begin with your bell ceremony. First, you stated you had a clandestine right-free canicule beforehand than the accepted accessible one. Then, while apprentice or information, you backtracked and accepted as a spiritual union, which afflicted into it. Meghan? Meghan's face went pale, a fresh flush purple. It absolutely is a clandestine amount amid my husband and me. None public? Kelly's voice rose. You alien it up in a globally televised account watched with the aid of 50 million animal beings. You don't get to claim privacy now. Mark cared to see this afflicted into spiraling out and manipulate, but he additionally diagnosed acute television ashamed he noticed it. Meghan Kelly has a point. If your activity to accomplish accessible statements, they charge to be correct. Correct according to whom? Meghan spun to face him. Her accord absolutely shattered now. Constant with the aforementioned institution that leaked tales about me to the press for years, the identical amphitheater of ancestors that refused to bounce on me from racist assaults. No one's arresting racist attacks, Kelly stated firmly. But you've got additionally fabricated claims approximately your sister in regulation, which acquire being disputed by agency of assorted resources. My sister in regulation? Meghan's articulation went alarmingly quiet. You advanced the changeable who fabricated me cry at my own bell's alarm afterwards, which acquiesced to press allegation me for authoritative her cry? See, that's absolutely what I am speak me about. Kelly Apprentice, on analysis she had hit something. First, the account became what you made her cry. Afresh you addled it and said she fabricated you cry. Which archetypal I would declare to consider. Meghan's hands were afraid now. Whether from acerbity or emotion, it was absurd to tell. I informed the accuracy about what came about. The palace circuit apparatus created the other model. But you bootless to complete it for 3 years. Mark a sickle out. 3 years of letting animal beings accede article you claim affronted into a lie. Why? Due to the actuality I was seeking to absorb her, Meghan shouted, her articulation alveolate through the studio. I became attractive to be the bigger man or woman to comply with their behavior about never explaining, never complaining. An appearance in which it got me. The flat ambition audience gasped calm on the outburst. This become uncooked, unfiltered effect gambling out in complete time, and all bodies may appetite to feel the 18-carat acerbity beaming from Meghan. So, you blanketed her for 3 years, but a fresh abstivity to bandy her beneath the bus on global TV. That does not complete like safety, Meghan. That seems like revenge. Revenge? Meghan's articulation cracked at the phrase. You doubtable I destroyed my relationships, my recognition, my piece of apperception for revenge. You empiric I place my youngsters at crisis for revenge. I think you place your kids at crisis the instant you abstively to air your own family's private business on TV. Kelly attempt lower back, and that I acquire you are nonetheless accomplishing it every time you bear every added interview. The phrases hit Meghan like a concrete blow. She stumbled backward, her duke activity to her chest. How can I tell you ashame my youngsters into this? How can I tell you question my selections? As a mother, Mark stepped forward, gluttonous to regain manipulate. No person's apprehensive of your abilities as a mom. But Kelly raises an accurate point about aloofness and protection. Accurate point. Meghan whirled on him. Tears now resting in her eyes, but her articulation still sturdy. You appetite to communicate about protection? In which afflicted into the protection whilst I acclimated to be accepting death threats, wherein afflicted into the aegis ashamed I become accepting baleful thoughts and beg for assist. The flat fell into abundantly surprised silence. This became a loft amusement now. This was actuality in proper misery, and all of us cared to feel it. Kelly's articulation ashen barely, about she didn't retreat. Meghan, if you have been clearly accepting the one's thoughts, in case you have been artlessly in that lot's ache, afresh I'm sorry, about the use of that anguish to aching other people is not the answer. Corruption other human beings? Meghan's articulation was incredulous. I shared my experience. If that hurt humans, conceivably they charge abstraction why the absoluteness is so aching for them. The fact? Mark repeated. About that's the trouble, isn't it? Your absoluteness appears to shift depending on what serves your narrative in the beggarly time. Meghan's jaw dropped. My narrative? You watch that as all a few affected plan? You anticipate I destroyed my lifestyles, labored my amphitheater of relatives, gave up the absoluteness I knew for narrative. I assume you fabricated selections, Kelly said bluntly, and now you're aggravating to rewrite history to accomplish those selections appear to be anniversary actuality else's fault. The accusation afraid central the air, like a bomb that had aloof exploded. Meghan stood there, aperture open, gazing Kelly in whole shock. For a moment, she appeared not able to allege at all. While she ultimately found her voice, it became hardly aloft a whisper, but in some way added able than all her above-mentioned shouting. You acquire no concept what you'll speak me about. You've got truly no abstraction what it's like to be me. You are proper, Kelly responded, her voice appropriately quiet about. Unyielding. I do not apperceive what it's like to be you. However, I apprehend what it is like to be on this industry for bounding years, and that I understand manipulation already I see it. That word manipulation seemed to breach something in Meghan. Her composure, which were cracking for the continuance of the interview, eventually shattered. Completely manipulation, she screamed. Her voice raw and desperate. Aggregate I been through, aggregate I acquire suffered, and you alarm at manipulation. The manipulate room became in complete anarchy now. Producers acquire being agreeable at every different approximately whether to abate away, abomination affronted into being called, and the phones have been ringing off the hook about the cameras saved rolling.